This episode of the Great Girlfriends podcast is being brought to you by Fidelity Investments. Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I am your host, Sibylla Muti, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. So grab your pen and paper, grab a great girlfriend, get situated, and let's get into the show. Hey, great girlfriends. Happy Wednesday and happy fall. You know, as a Southern girl, I can't say that I could despise the weather more, but I'm always grateful to be alive. And for those of you that are out on the East Coast, I'm sending warm weather vibes your way from California. In true great girlfriend form, I have been connected with a woman who I'm so excited to share with you today, Miss Pamela Everhart from Fidelity Investments. Hi, Pamela. How are you?
Hi, Sybil. How are you? I'm so happy to join the podcast today with you. So I'm very excited about our conversation.
Oh, thank you so much. And I was telling Pamela, I was digging and probing around, and I've learned so many exciting things about Pamela and who she is and what she does and how she does what she does. And I just wanted to be able to have this conversation with you, Pamela, to really bring to the forefront another dynamic woman who is what I consider a power broker and a game changer. So I want to thank Fidelity for introducing you to me and to the Great Girlfriend community.
Well, I'm excited. Power broker is an interesting word. I always say that my power comes from my team. As you know, Sybil, and many people know, you cannot do this by yourself.
Listen, that's a whole sermon series. That is the truth. That is the truth. And anyone who's trying will always find themselves failing, right? You just have to have people to, really pad you and support you. And you do the same for others.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my life. That's the life lesson I've learned.
Supporting,
helping others. Yeah.
Listen, we're kicking off already. Are you okay if I read your brief bio? I just want to share a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and where you are now. Is that okay with you?
Sure, absolutely. We're all girlfriends here. Let's go for it.
I love it. Okay. So Pamela is the head of regional public affairs and community relations at Fidelity Investments. Pamela oversees the firm's state and local government relationships and community relations activities at its Boston headquarters and across Fidelity's regions in the U.S. Prior to joining Fidelity, Pamela was an associate with Ropes and Gray LLP and practiced as a CPA and senior tax manager with EY. Pamela received a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin and a JD from Harvard Law School. She is admitted to practice law in MA before the Supreme Court. As a leader in the community, Pamela is active in several community service organizations and sits on several not-for-profit boards. She is one of 19 Massachusetts Black and Brown executives who launched the new Commonwealth Racial Equity and Social Justice Fund to help drive transformative social changes to address systemic racism and racial inequity. Excuse me. Pamela, random question. What did you eat for breakfast this morning?
Oh my God. I've never had that question before, Sybil. I love that question.
What did you eat to start this day? Like what did you have on your plate and in your cup?
Yeah, well, you know what? I needed some protein. So whenever I can, I try to have an egg. So I did have an egg, and I'm a Southern girl, so I put some hot sauce on that egg. And
I love it. I love it.
I like to be healthy. So I had spinach with it. Mm-hmm. And then some coffee. So that was my morning breakfast.
So good. Pamela, I just got to say, hats off to you. You have done so much and continue to do so much. I just love if you would just personally kick us off. There once was a girl named Pamela, and just share a little bit about yourself and then bring us into this really fantastic professional journey.
Well, there was this little girl named Pamela from a small town in Texas, Tyler, Texas, of about 25,000 people. Growing up, she had a real fetish for figures. And it was interesting, because in her elementary school, not too many girls, and she was around 5th, 6th grade, not too many girls focused on math. I know they were all talented and capable of math. But, every now and then, you need a teacher to push you. And Mr. Mathis, my 6th grade math teacher, pushed me And he was not just focusing on the boys. He felt that girls could do math as well. So I did exceptionally well in math, graduated from high school, and I was having a conversation with my counselor about where I might go to school for college and what I might do. And she said, well, what are you interested in? And I said, you know what? I want to graduate in 4 years and make a lot of money. So what profession would that be, right? And so she knew I had this penchant for figures. So she said, what about accounting? And she said, you can graduate in 4 years and start making money. So I went to the University of Texas at Austin in Texas. That is the university for those of you who've gone to Texas A&M or some of those other schools. But I went there and majored in accounting, and she helped me. So, like you can't do this by yourself. She helped me get scholarships from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, AICPA. So I got 4-year full scholarships and did the EY thing. My parents had always said when I was growing up that I would be a lawyer. My father, once again, these are Southern parents. My father would say, Pam, you will argue with a signpost. So so I did the EY thing, and they kept saying, I thought you were going to be a lawyer. What are you doing? You're doing this accounting thing. You're going to be a lawyer. So then I said, yeah, but I'm making some money. He said, but I know my little girl is going to be a lawyer. So I applied to Harvard Law, got in there, met some really cool people, actually was in law school with Michelle Robinson, who we all know, who is now Michelle Obama, and her husband at the time, Barack Obama, before he was president. And so I did that at Harvard Law School, and then, stayed in Boston. I'm a Texan, growing up. I will always be, Boston has really good sports franchises. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But I will always be a Dallas Cowboys fan. And I will always be a Houston Astros fan. But I chose to stay in Boston. I met my husband here. He was from New York, and we decided to stay here and raise our family. And I did the law firm route for about 4 years, and then the last 27 years, I cannot believe this. Wow. 27 years I've been at Fidelity Investments. I would have never ever thought that I would have been at one place for 27 years, but I've had 6 or 7 different careers, and I've been able to do this staying at the same place. So it's been wonderful. And so that's Pam Everhart. That's that little Black girl from Tyler, Texas.
I love it. Who loves the Cowboys and the Astros, yes. And who has this incredible light, Pam, and joy that's like seeping through this audio. It's your spirit is really high. What keeps your spirit so high?
Well, you know what? And this is a girlfriends podcast. I will say my girlfriends, when I was at the University of Texas, I pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and met just some lifelong girlfriends. It was all about sisterhood and scholarship and service. And so that kept me going. And then in Boston, I'm a member of some Black women's organizations. The Links is one, Girlfriends, and some others. And you know what? It's those girlfriends that will carry the load. They encourage you. My girlfriends pray for me. They push me when I need it. They intervene. Sometimes girlfriends have to intervene.
That's right.
You may be going the wrong way, and they have to intervene. And then they wait for you with open arms at the end of the road, and they walk by your side, and every now and then they are carrying your load.
Yeah.
So that's what's energized me, having really good, solid base of girlfriends.
Ah, that's so powerful. And great girlfriends. I didn't tell her to say that, just so you know, that is like seeping through her veins. So like, it's just, I love that because there is a culture for women who are really thriving and feel happy in their being and feel supported. There's a culture, there's a heartbeat, a pulse to that. And most women that I have interviewed and had the pleasure of meeting will agree that their success circle, their power circle has been a centerpiece to their journey, both personally and professionally. So I'd love to know, like, I see that you've said great friendships and having that support system has been a part of your strategy for just having a high spirit and keeping yourself prepared. But what have been some of the other pieces or strategies that you've used for growth in your life?
Sure. Well, I have, I call it the 3 R's. That's
Okay.
been my strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships,
Mm-hmm.
resiliency, and risk taking. So when you think about relationships, I always tell my team, and this is my motto: remember that R comes before T. Relationships before task. So
Ooh,
yes, and so I love the
that's
fact that when
good.
we kind of chatted before we got into this task of being the podcast, so we had an opportunity to get to know each other. So people work best with people they know. They've gotten to know and they want to help. You know, sometimes when there are discussions at work regarding giving out new assignments or promotions, and you know the name comes up and it may be Sybil, and someone may say, "I don't know Sybil."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they may know who you are, but they say, "I don't know Sybil."
Yeah.
Next, right? And
Yeah.
so you have to bring that R before T, that relationship before task mindset
Mm-hmm.
to
That's so good.
everything you do. Second, it's resiliency. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there have been times that things just didn't go the way I thought they should have gone. Or, you know, one time in my career, I got layered, you know, where one of my peers then became my manager. And you know what? At first, you know, in my mind, I was steaming Sybil. I'm like, oh my gosh, how could this happen?
Uh-huh.
I know just as much or more than he. He's been my peer. But you know what? I composed myself. I took out of that new kind of relationship, that new org chart, what I needed to take out.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned. I learned from him. He learned from me. And then things changed, you know, and then we became peers and then I exceeded him. So what I always say, and my mom tells me this too, and I'm sure many of the folks in listening would have heard this, it's not that you fall down, it's how you get back up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I learned from that relationship, and that brief moment where I was layered. And then the final thing I would say, the final R, is risk taking. You have to be flexible and you have to take calculated risk in your career. I heard Pitbull speak to an audience at Fidelity, and he said that there are no mistakes, there are only must takes. And
That's
that's the way
so
I
good.
look at it
Yeah.
in terms of risk. You know, you need to
Yeah.
be mobile. You need to express yourself in terms of your interest, in terms of doing new and different things. You need to think like as if I, you know, some people say think outside the box. I always say take a risk and think as if there is no box.
Mm.
So that's been those three things: R before T, resiliency, and risk taking, and that's guided my career not only when I was at E&Y and then at the law firm, but the 27 years at Fidelity.
I love that. I love that, Pam. That really truly aligns with something I always tell my team, and even in masterminds, is to remember to be human to people, right? So remember
Yes.
to consider people as human as you are, who came in, who dropped kids off, who may have had a little cold, now, have a relative of COVID, or may have fears they're dealing with. Building rapport allows you to be human to one another and establish those kind of relationships where you can understand and empower people in the right way. And
You know, that point you make about being human. You know what? I have two kids.
hmm
My son is 22, and I have a daughter 19. But when my son was around, I guess he was seventh grade, so what, around 11 or 12 years old, he was going to a school, and I was asking him about the lunch because they made lunch for them every day. So I said, "Well, how's lunch?" His name is Hamilton, and I said, "Hamilton, how is lunch at school?" And he says, "Mom, it's delicious." I said, "Do you know the people who are preparing the lunch?" And
mm
he said, "Well, you know, there's some Black women in the cafeteria." I said, "Do you know their names?"
hmm
And he said, "No." I said, "Hamilton, you are going to that school every day, and
Yeah.
there are people there who look just like you.
hmm
These are brown people who look just like you, and you don't know their names." You know, and so I told him, I said, when you go back to school, you find out their names. They are humans, to your point, Sybil, just like you. And every time you go into that cafeteria for lunch, you say, "Hello, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, and thank you for preparing lunch for me today."
That's right. That's so good.
Yes.
So good. And, I've learned that the question, how are you, We could start a meeting with an agenda, or we could start a meeting with, how are you? How are you? What's one exciting thing about your day, or what's something that you love, or what's something that you're working through? All those things just help us to really establish a connection. And I love what you said about the relationship before task, because we are all living and going through, and especially going through COVID, and most people are working from home and still trying to navigate all the different facets of life while also being present in these moments. It's so important for the relationship piece to be intact, and that consideration, I've personally seen that consideration open doors and represent me in rooms I could have never gotten into. I just didn't even have the bandwidth, right? And I love that, because as you talk about, as we talk about professional growth, we can't be everywhere doing everything, but our names can, right? And our relationships can.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, you always need that sponsorship, right?
Yes.
Yeah, someone carrying your papers. My friend Carla Harris would say, you know what, you have to have somebody to carry your papers into the room with you. What are they saying about you when you're not in that room? And
That's
you need
right.
to make sure that they know, Carla says, the good, and the good about
Oh,
you.
that's
So
so
I
good.
love that.
I
Yeah,
love it. And I love when she sings, when she speaks. I love,
yeah,
I can't get enough of her singing before she does a speech. I
yeah.
love it, the authenticity. So tell me, from your perspective, what do you think women need to know about relationship building at work? There's lots of conversation about, women bringing feminine energy versus masculine energy, and et cetera. What do you think are the keys for women?
Well, I think, sometimes women think that they have to do it all by themselves. And as we talked earlier, no one does it alone.
Hmm.
And the greatest way to achieve success is to first help others succeed and bring them along. So I once heard that a true leader, and this is what women can be true leaders, um, doesn't create separation. A true leader brings people together. And I think women are very good at this. So the team concept, I think that's something that women should promote a lot. And it's not just them. I always tell my team that this comes from an African proverb: I am because you are.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I think that's the main thing that women can bring. Men don't always do that. A lot do, but it's about the team. It's about bringing others along.
Mm, that is so good. What about representation? There's a lot of conversations about what we wear at work now, and um, you know, being too much or not enough in rooms. And what would you say to all of that?
I think you have to be authentic. You
Mhm.
know what? It's too hard trying to be somebody else. Because, Sybil, if you're trying to be somebody else, sometimes you forget what you're supposed to be.
That's right.
So I would just say being authentic, being who you are, makes a big difference at work. And you know what? You never know, what aspect of yourself, what attribute is going to connect with someone else. And you don't know that unless you are your own self. So I have to feel comfortable with me at work, and it's about, what, I have my own style, so I'm not trying to mimic anyone else, right? And the hair thing, Black women, we go through all of that with the hair. I got comfortable. Sometimes it's straight, sometimes it's curly, sometimes it's braids, sometimes it's pulled back, sometimes it's short, what times it's curly. You know what? But at the end of the day, I have to be comfortable,
That's
and I
right.
have to be me. I can do my best work when I feel comfortable with who I am. So I say you have to be authentic.
Yeah. Were you ever in a space in your journey, Pamela, where you found yourself maybe joining different affinity groups, or representing yourself in different meetings to try to really gain the leverage you wanted in a certain company you were in?
Yes, and it started actually back in law school, because it was a big class when I was at Harvard. I think our class was 500 people. And there were folks from all different walks of life,
Hmm.
right? And some people came to the law school right out of undergrad. Some had spent maybe a couple of years, working before coming, and others had spent several years coming back. And so what I realized is that understanding the law, you have to understand how it's going to be implemented, different perspectives. Because if you're going to argue, you need to not only know your side, but the other side. So, Sybil, I decided that I would be in a lot of different study groups. So I had all Black women study group. I had a study group with white women. I was the only Black person in the group. I had a study group with white men because I felt that I was going to be working with them in my professional career, and I needed to know how they think. So
Right.
I joined that. So I started off finding myself in different groups. And then in my professional career here at Fidelity, I am a co-executive sponsor of Aspire, that is the Black and Latino employee resource group, but I'm also a senior advisor to our women's ERG, but I'm a member of the Asian ERG. I'm a member of our gay and lesbian ERG. I never served, in the military, but I am a member of our what we call Five, and that's our veterans, because people in the military think differently. They're very strategic, and I'm thinking about Colin Powell and the life he lived and his leadership principles. When you
That's right.
have been in the military at that level, they think totally different. And
Yeah.
so I feel it is so important. You cannot just be in one group, because another thing my mom said, she said, if you're all thinking alike, then someone's not
That's the
thinking,
problem. Yeah, that's right.
right? Right. So
So
it's
good.
important to be able to go through different groups and organizations, and so you know how everyone is thinking.
Yeah. I'm also hearing you say too, it's very important. I'm hearing you consistently, Pamela, even through reading your bio, you put yourself in a position to be a student as well as a thought leader. And I love the idea, that in this community, I'm constantly beating the horn that we have to continue to be curious. And part of growth is asking big questions or having a hypothesis that we pursue. How is it that it takes a certain level of confidence, like you said, to join all of these different ERGs and really position yourself in a place to learn. And there's humility that comes along with that, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I love the idea of positioning yourself, and great girlfriends. I hope you're taking that away. We're never too old, never too esteemed or established to be a student, be a learner, be a lifelong learner.
And then also there are things you have to unlearn,
Ah, ooh,
right?
ooh.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole different sermon that we can have, right?
Yeah,
But I have to unlearn so many things in my life. Like if you perform well and work hard, you will succeed. That's not always true.
not
A
always.
lot of us, right? So I had to unlearn that. You have to add on to that. I had to unlearn that failures are bad,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm,
so I also had to unlearn the fact that, once again, trying to do it by yourself. We talked about that earlier, thinking that it's all you. It's not
mhm,
all you, right?
mhm.
Mhm.
There's that big notion, Pamela, that, when we as girls, we graduate college and we leap into our careers and we learn to be independent. And, that thinking sometimes trips us up when it's time to learn how to ally and partner with people who can support our journey. Sometimes
Right.
we found ourselves so fiercely isolated, and that independence doesn't just mean doing it all solo. It means learning how to adapt and how to integrate people at the right place and time.
Absolutely correct. I agree with you.
So I want to talk to you a bit about money and net
Oh,
worth.
oh, wow. Okay.
Because we know that there's a large area of opportunity for women in the workplace to earn more, and to be represented financially in all of our rooms. In our boardrooms, have more representation. At the bank, more representation. And most people will say that your net worth equals your net work, right? And so I want to know from you, what have you personally done to increase your net worth through relationship building, and what can our great girlfriends grab a hold to today?
Well, you know what? For me, it really is about service. I
Mm-hmm.
love this quote by Shirley Chisholm. You may have heard it. It's service is the rent we pay for
Yes.
the privilege of living on this earth.
That's right.
And so service to others gives me energy, it fills me up, and it drives me toward action.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a part of my net worth. I mean, it's not always about money, but it's about giving to others and making a meaningful impact. And that's why I really love my current role at Fidelity, the part where I focus on community relations, because what we've done is trying to reach out to underserved communities, particularly the youth, and drive the importance of financial education, and how that you need to get comfortable with financial concepts. I mean, growing up around the dinner table, my mom always talked about savings. I mean, she could turn a dime into a dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always saving, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what the part that was missing for me was the investing piece
Yeah.
and making money work for you, right? And back then it wasn't Bitcoin, but whatever the term of the day was, that's not what we were talking about at the dinner table.
That's
And
right.
I want underprivileged kids, I want Black kids, brown kids to be comfortable and to be confident when
Yeah.
they're talking about their finances. And that's what we're trying to do at Fidelity. We do a lot with Boys and Girls Clubs. We do things with Black Girls Code. Becoming a Man is it's a nonprofit organization in the Boston community, Teach for America, because they're teaching in inner city schools. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what it is for me. That's where I get my net worth, is giving back to others, using my expertise, the platform I have here at Fidelity, to make a meaningful impact in communities, driving transformational change, and focusing on that racial wealth gap. There are a lot
Yeah.
of systemic barriers in place that prevented Black and brown people from being, where they need to be at this current time. And a lot of organizations are trying to change that. And I'm so proud to have a team of people at Fidelity who are committed to this work.
Oh, that is so good. So that sort of brings me to what I wanted to personally ask you, which was your why, and you covered so much of that in being a servant leader and having a mission in front of you that you are devoted to, that allows you to sustain your years at Fidelity. A lot of times, especially in this day and age, I think they say the average span in a career at a company is under 5 years now, so that people are not the staying power has been lost, and that people are just sort of on a quest to find something quick and better. But your resilience and your devotion at Fidelity has obviously meant a lot to the community, to you. What has been your big why?
Well, you know what? Finding something that you are passionate about.
Yeah.
And so to be able to give 150% in your career, in your job, it has to be passionate. It has to, it just can't be the work. You have to have passion behind it. And for me, that's so important. And also finding a place that an institution or an organization or company where your values align,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
So
so what I
important.
found is, for me, it is a place of integrity, a place that has high ethics, and a place that's trustworthy, right? And where I can
Mhm.
find things like that and combine it with the passion and make a little money so I'm
Right.
able to help the family,
Yeah.
then that's the perfect ingredient for me. So that's what I said. It has to be the passion, and it has to go somewhere where you are aligned, where your values are aligned.
That is so good. So I love that. I love that. I love that. I know I can't keep you all day. Of course, I would love to. I have a quadrillion questions for you, Pam.
I can come back, Sybil. I
You
can
have
come
to
back.
come back. You have to come back because these insights are so valuable. And, for our community, we have a large number of entrepreneurs as well. And I'm always speaking to entrepreneurs about establishing infrastructure, and that comes with strong leadership. And I just love to speak with women who understand their role as leaders and understand, that it's bigger than just you. And I want to kind of dive into your two more things I have for you, Pam. This is my last two. You're a mom and you're a wife. I heard you say you have a 22, I think, and a 19-year-old.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
Okay. Okay. So all of that alongside, and there is this quest for balance. And I believe that, I have discovered I'm a mom of two. I can't do balance, but I have found harmony, and harmony has really served the way that I feel and how I can be present. What have you found with, were your keys as a working mom, working wife, and how to, be present in all of your roles? What has been a key for you?
Well, I love the fact, Sybil, that you said, you can't do the balance. I'm glad you said that because oftentimes people ask me, like, how do you balance your career and your family and the work you do in the community? And I said, I don't know what balance is. I mean, it's
Right, right.
all about, right? It can't be. And I said, for me, it has to be prioritization and impact because something may be a priority today but
Mhm.
may not be tomorrow. So I said, sometimes I'm giving, 90% in one area and 10% in the other, or
Yes.
it's a 70-30 or a 60-40, right? And so you just, that balance that you said, that harmony, not the balance, but the harmony, that's what you have
Yeah.
to find. And what I also found is that, how women are, we think that we have to do it all.
Yeah.
No, I said, I want it all, Sybil, without doing it all.
That's right. I love that. That's a sweatshirt.
Delegate, right? And
Yes.
it's interesting. I delegated to my husband when my daughter was young, because he was dropping them off at school. And I said, okay, I'm going to delegate to you getting my daughter dressed in the morning. I will put out the clothes and you get her dressed. Now, I delegated, but I was still trying to hang on, girl. So one day, my daughter I come home and she still has on the blouse that buttons down the back
Oh,
on,
yeah.
but my husband had put it on and buttoned it down the front like it was a shirt. And I just said, hey, I said, you know what? Thank you, but you know what? That shirt was supposed to be buttoned down the back. It was a blouse, it had a nice little collar. And I was going off, and he said, Pam, you're the only one upset here. He said,
Mm.
I'm happy. My daughter's Jade. Jade is happy. He said, you're the only one that's not happy. And I thought, wow, he's right. And it
Mm.
wasn't important that the blouse be buttoned down the front. What was important is that she was dressed appropriately. So
That's
I
right.
say to women, when you delegate, let someone else do it. Give them, vision and how
That's
things
right.
can
Yeah.
be done.
Yeah.
But you know what? I remember this quote from the previous owner of the Washington Post. She said, and this is her leadership principle was, mind on, hands off,
So good.
right?
Oh,
Right.
so good.
And that's what I would say in terms of lead. And also drop the ball. I told people that too. I said, as women, sometimes we need to drop the ball. There's a great book, and can't remember the
Tiffany
title of it.
Dufu, drop
Yes,
the
have you
ball.
read this book?
That's
I
right.
love it.
I've interviewed
Drop
her. She's been on. Yeah, I love Tiffany.
it. I live by that. I have dropped the ball, girl, when it doesn't matter. Those things that are not important, they're not priority, and they're not impactful.
That's
I've
right.
dropped the ball.
Oh, and not impactful. So good. So having said that, this is my last one. Maybe okay, two
Really?
more.
Is it the last one,
It,
Sybil?
it's the last before the last. So it's because we talk so much to everyone about their morning routine. And one day I had a chaotic evening and I said, I don't have an evening routine. What is your evening routine, Pam? What's your wind down? Not how do you go into gear? Do you have an evening routine? And what is that for you?
I am so bad. I watch reality TV. I
Oh,
just do.
yeah.
And my husband like, why are you watching that stuff? And I said, because it's entertaining.
Yeah. And it's mindless, right? It's
Priceless. And I won't go into those shows that I watch. Maybe offline we can talk about those.
yeah.
But that's what I do. I do it. I watch reality and laugh. We need some
Yeah.
laughter. We work hard. And
Yeah.
I do the laughter thing with reality TV.
I love it. I love it. I love that. Something just to give your mind a break and just kind of
Yes,
decompress without, and there's no expectation when you watch reality TV. You just,
right,
you can
right.
just be. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is the last one. What
Okay.
is one affirmation that you have committed to that you think another great girlfriend should carry with her every day?
I would say always remember that you need to do something, like act. We all have the power to affect change and
Mm-hmm.
to lead from the seats in which we sit, regardless of your title or role. The most important thing is you need to take action and do something.
Oh, that is so good, Pam. Oh my gosh. I went from calling you Pamela to Pam because I just,
Because we're girlfriends now. So
we're official. We're official. Thank you so much for your time, Fidelity. Thank you so much for inviting Pam to be our guest today. Where can they keep up with you, Pam? I'm sure there's going to be questions and DMs and things of the sort.
I guess everyone's on LinkedIn these days.
Yes.
Instagram, I'm struggling. I have to talk to my 19-year-old daughter about that.
Okay. I love that. And Pam, I'm assuming there's a book somewhere in the future. I'm assuming it. You may not have written it, but I'm just assuming. I hear leadership book and TED Talk in the future. So and we'll be looking out for it.
Okay, Sybil, I need a ghostwriter. I think you could help me.
I got you. I got you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. So I love this. This is a great way to spend your morning and my afternoon.
That's right. Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_great_GFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.